and welcome to this short training video for secretaries. Today we're going to look at the Part 2 annual returns. Lots of secretaries are quite overwhelmed by the information that's required in the Part 2 returns, and in this video we're going to hope to break it down section by section. The first section of your annual Part 2 returns is about the church itself. So, the first one is the church's name, the church's address, the church's email, any telephone numbers, and what district the church is in, alongside any websites or web addresses that the church has. Then we need to know about the committee. So the president's details, who they are, their address, telephone number, and any email address. The same then for the vice president, or if you have two vice presidents, please feel free to fill in both vice president boxes. Then we need the details of the treasurer, the secretary, and the remainder of the committee, whatever position they occupy. We also need details of your church rep. Your church rep attends district meetings on behalf of the church and also national meetings of the Spiritualist National Union and reports back on any business that's been transacted in those meetings. It's important that we know who the church rep is, as they are issued with a credential card to prove that they are the correct person to be voting on your church's behalf when they attend any district or national meetings. The next part of the form is pretty simple. We simply need to know registration of marriages. Is your church, or does your church have, an authorised person to conduct weddings in your church? If so, then it's a very simple thing. We just need to know who they are, their address, telephone number, and any email address that they may have. We also need to know who the authorised signatories are within your church. This is a precautionary measure just in case there are any problems. So normally churches have 3 signatories, and we're required to know who those 3 are, with any 2 of those signatories being able to authorise any transactions or payments. Next we have a trust property section, and this gives us details of who your local warden is. So your local warden and also your national warden. And again, we just need to know their names, addresses, telephone numbers, and any email address that they may have. As part of this, we also need to know if your property is either leased or rented, and this is a simple ticking of the box. So if the property is rented or leased, or any part of it is rented or leased, you simply tick yes, and then give the details of that below. If you have got a rental agreement, then please supply a copy of this alongside. The next section tells us who your church's independent examiners are. In other words, who your auditors are. If it is that you use a professional accountant, as many churches do, then simply tick the box marked professional accountant and move on to the next section. If you have a member of another SNU church, or indeed full members of your own church that act as auditors, please tick the appropriate box and then fill out the details of who those auditors are with their names, address and telephone number. The next section simply tells us about your annual general meeting, and it's simply the date of when your next annual general meeting is. Also, were any motions requiring a 3/4 majority carried at the AGM or any special meeting during that year? Again, if the answer is yes, just simply tick the box mark yes. If it's no, simply tick the box mark no. The next section is all about the insurance details of your church. So we need to make sure that each church that comes under the SNU banner has the appropriate insurance in place and has got liability insurance to cover in the event of any accidents. This just simply asks for the name of your insurer, the policy number, the renewal date, and then various other details that are contained within the policy, such as the cost of replacing the church in the event of a total loss, the total amount the building is insured for, the total amount of public liability insurance, and what the cost of your premium was. The next section is the church subscription fee. So we enter the amount of money that you charge each full member and each associate member. So for instance, if to join your church the cost of being a full member is £10, you would simply write £10 in the box marked full, and if it was £6 to be an associate, you would simply put £6 in the box marked associate. The next section is about safeguarding, and it's just simply a ticking of the box either marked yes or no. So do you have any regular activities for children under 18? Yes or no. Do you have any regular activities specifically for vulnerable adults? Yes or no. Regular for the purpose means either once a week or more, 4 or more times in a 30-day period, or between 2 AM and 6 AM occurring once or more. If the answer is either yes to questions 1 or 2, have the people working with these activities undertaken a DBS or ISA check, and again it's simply a matter of ticking the box. The next section, which is on page 7, is all about the website and the yearbook entry. As you know, the SNU produces a yearly diary that contains all the details of our churches, their contact information, their website information, and who the best person to contact is. This is what will go in that diary. So there's a contact telephone number, an email address. It also asks for details of the church's services, what days they are on, what times they are on. It also asks for details of any open circles or classes such as healing. Again, what day are they on and what time are they on. Although this information doesn't go in the diary, it is used to update the website, so it can be quite an important tool for those who are looking for their nearest church and for what's on. The next is the simple declaration. So it's 2 officers of the church, usually either the secretary and the president or the secretary and the treasurer or vice president. And you simply just sign, date, print your name and give us your position. Following on, once you've done this, you then need to complete the healing returns. The healing returns are pretty simple. They're just the same as what we've already filled out for the committee details, only for your healers. So on the form, it will give you the Healings Medium's annual return form, which sounds a mouthful, but it's really quite simple. All we need to do is fill in the name of the church, the name of an address and telephone number of each healer, and their healer's number. If you're unsure as to what the healer's number is, or the healer themselves isn't sure, you can obtain these details by simply contacting head office. Once you have done this, and given details of any training healing mediums as well, you then need a copy of your church's accounts. These are the accounts that were given and voted on and signed off by your members at the last annual general meeting. If you use a professional accountant, there is no need to fill out each of the accounting boxes on this form. You can simply attach a copy of the professional accountant's accounts that were given to the meeting and send them in with this form. If, however, you don't use a professional accountant and you have done the accounts yourself, which have then been verified by your own auditors, which are either full members of your church or full members of another church, then there will be a need for you to fill in the income and expenditure boxes and columns that are contained within this form. And it's very simple income and expenditure. It simply asks what you've taken and when. So your Sunday collections, for instance, a weekday collection, members' fees, healing, any circles or workshops that you've done, any fundraisers, teas, coffees, raffles, private sittings, and obviously expenses such as utilities, refreshments, repairs, renewals, stationery, affiliation fees and so forth. It's important to remember that when you're doing your accounts and when you're submitting accounts to the SNU, if you own your own building, then that will need to form part and parcel of the balance sheet at the front of those accounts. So we would expect to see income over expenditure, giving either a surplus or a deficit, and then obviously an overall value of the building and its contents. Once all this has been done, there is a handy checklist at the start of the form, just to double check that we have absolutely everything that we need in order to send this form back to the SNU. And the checklist simply says the annual church return form, which is what we've just talked about and what we've filled out, the church accounts, a copy of the insurance policy, and also your healing return, which is also forms part and parcel of this form. If you do have any further questions or queries regarding the church's annual Part 2 returns, then please by all means feel free to contact me by using the details on the screen. Thank you.